is Required Watching, where we watch the essential films from lists of cinematic influencers and look at them through the lens of learning about filmmaking and how to move forward. I'm your host, Trey Epps, and this movie was directed by S.S. Rajamouli, with screenplay by S.S. Rajamouli, with story by V. Vijendra Prasad, and starring Prabhas Rana Dagabudi, Anushka Shetty, Tamanna, Ramya Krishna, Sath Yaraj, and Nassar. Um, this in this movie, I'm gonna apologize straight up for butchering those names, but apologies. Anyway, in this movie, after learning about his father being brutally killed by Balaladeva, Mahendra Bahabuli raises an army to defeat him and releases his mother from the former's captivity. This is Bahabali 2, uh, the first Bahabali film, the beginning. Please stop right now and go ahead and watch it. But if you haven't heard my review on the first, take a few moments to scroll on back and check it out. I'm pretty sure I'll repeat some of those same things. But let me just go back to what I said a second ago. If you haven't seen the first one, um, I think it's okay to jump right into the second one. Yes, the ending gets a bit confusing if you don't know the entire story, but I do think the movie does a really great job of initiating people to what happened in the first movie and kind of making it two separate movies. I know that doesn't make sense, but almost, because we're in these kind of parallel timelines, or in a flashback anyway, and that flashback lasts a lot of the first movie and even more so in the second. So I think without knowing much context for what happens in the first one, what you get from the very beginning is this man who is fighting for survival, trying to live in this kingdom, which is rightfully his, and trying to play by the rules that have been established. But at the very, very end, when we switch back over to present day, or the movie's present day, um, we get the shift in a war and a battle that happens that you don't quite understand if you don't watch the first one. I do think they do a really quite an amazing job bridging, showing the baby being born, and the subsequent escape that had to happen, that we end up getting, but quote unquote present day Bahabuli. Um, in that initial battle from the first film, and then subsequent war and battle that happens at the very end of this film. Anyways, I will say right off the bat that the music was incredible. The entire title sequence, I thought everything felt like a real step up from the first film. I would even go as far as saying like the effects felt really, really advanced in a way. Like it just felt like, I think because maybe there was more of it, or maybe because there was more money after the success. I'm not sure of the filming timelines, but it definitely felt like there was a bit more gravitas to this film. It felt like there was a lot of levity, but again, the title sequence really kicked it all off and really made you feel like you were watching something epic. Um, Again, in a way that felt like a continuation of the first movie, but didn't have to deal with the pressure, I think, of setting up a world. The first movie was certainly setting up a lot, that the second movie pays off. But if you told me that this was just one movie, there was no movie before it, I would believe you, and I think I'd be yearning for more. Um, so I'm really happy that there are two parts. Doesn't feel reckless that there are two parts. Doesn't feel like it wants to be two parts just because. I do feel like the two are a complete story of this epic, what, 5-6 hour film, and I really enjoyed it. Um, the music was really, really good. Is it called Bahubali? Oh man, that is my jam. I've been listening to that nonstop since I finished the film, and yeah, I'm all over it. I'm all over it. I do think the music was toned down a whole lot more in this film than than maybe the first one. I think the first one just had like one or two um in movie songs. And I think this one did as well, but something felt different about it. Like maybe it was just more integrated. Maybe I'm just getting more accustomed to Indian cinema, and I think this is what the third or fourth film from SS Rajamouli. So I'm just getting more of a sense of how he does music, um, or again the culture as a whole. But I do feel like it just felt so much more integrated. Again, not like a musical, but it felt so much more integrated that I didn't mind it, or I didn't notice it, or I didn't really take stock in it the same way as I remember the first one where they did that, that love, that music sequence with the music sequence, like the romance music sequence, and through the waterfall and all of that, and it felt so. I remember feeling so pulled out of the movie a bit because I was like, what is happening? What is this? There was so many like CGI aspects to it and special effects, and the song that kind of came out of nowhere. I think it may have been the first song of the film, but this one felt very on track. Maybe because I had that initial experience, because I've watched many Indian films since then, that I feel like I know the rhythm. I feel like I understand what's happening. Um, but yeah, the music was fantastic, and I do think this movie. It, what's interesting is we hear a lot about masala films, or especially you guys have been teaching me a lot about masala films and different kind of genres and stuff like that, which I personally love. So please keep me informed about things that I should know, things I should watch, tidbits. I'll be watching The Romantics on Netflix very soon. I'm not, and that kind of goes over the history of Indian film, and the trailer of it talks about how people hate the term Bollywood because it doesn't speak about what the movie industry is in India. And much like I've been roasted and called out by the fact that I minimized how many languages are spoken in India, I think even on a wider front, people of the West specifically most certainly say Bollywood in reference to any Indian movie, um, which is a terrible shame. But anyways, it's a really long side tangent to say I'll be watching that and educating not only myself, but being able to speak and talk about Indian cinema is certainly something that I am enjoying doing. I appreciate everyone who listens to this and watches this and tells me things I need to know and makes those comments and suggestions, because I really feel integrated with the culture. Um, I may not be Indian, but I definitely we all have the same like very similar values and very similar like, to be perfectly honest and keep it on like the highest level. We all have really I think we have very similar entertainment like what is it like our expectation for entertainment I think is very similar. From what the movies I'm watching, not to say that other kinds of movies don't exist, of course, but the kinds of movies I've been watching really feel like movies that I would watch again within my culture, being very specifically a person of color, not necessarily black movies, but just movies that have a lot of fun, but also have a lot of substance, but also tell like this really important stories. Um, I don't know. I just feel kinship to Indian cinema in a way that I don't know if I know how to how to articulate. Um, yeah. Anyways, back to this. The beginning of this film, going back to why I was talking about masala films. The beginning of this film really delves deep into like this romantic, romance story between, I can only say past Baahubali and I forget the woman's name, but and it really threw me off course because I remember that romance storyline from the movie before, and I kind of just shrugged my shoulders of like, okay, he's moved on, kind of forgetting that we're still in the past, and but actually really enjoyed that it came on so strong and it came on so quick, and we had like these like he's this prince, this king consort, or whatever the title is, and he has like these royal duties, but he's also a guy who's fallen in love and has to kind of prove his worth, and he's hiding out and going on these missions. It's very strange. um it's a very strange balance, but it's a really strong balance. So I really like that romance aspect of it, and that of course it comes back into how we get to present day, which I wasn't expecting. I kind of just took the movie for what it was. I watched this movie months after I've seen the first one without any kind of context, any kind of like recap or anything else. So it was really nice to be surprised in that way as things came up. Uh, One of the things that I honestly will not forgive a an Indian film for not having is someone on set blowing a person's hair as they as they pose, as they stand, as they do absolutely nothing, as nothing else is around them. There's no wind around, and yet their hair is blowing, and I love that as a way of talking about a character, as a way of visualizing the character. And Provis has like this long, glorious hair, and I just love that everything felt so like even his hair felt substantial, right? Like it wasn't just him who he was, the power of Shiva and all that stuff. It was just like, as a person, his hair will blow even when everything else is standing still. And again, I think that's great visuals. Lastly, one of the last things anyway is that this felt so Shakespearean in a way that I didn't catch on to in the first film. We have all this betrayal and love and struggles with power and jealousy, and I couldn't help but to think about Shakespeare. I'm not sure if that's a poor example or a poor comparison, but that's what I have to kind of lean on. Is yeah, it just felt so. I continue to say epic, but I think it just felt so human, right? Right? Like I think Shakespearean stories also feel very human, maybe in the way we frame, let's say Othello, right? And kings, queens, dames, like all that like aristocracy and royal nonsense that I think most common person won't ever be able to realize. But what we do understand is the feelings around it, feeling jealous, feeling envious, feeling like we're in love, feeling like we are owed something that we aren't, feeling like we should be righteous in our decisions to do something because that's the way we were brought up, etc. Um, so yeah, if I had watched this film when I was in college, I think I'd be drawing from it in terms of like how I think about drama. To be perfectly honest, I think drama is the way this movie is shaped is actually really really interesting. But maybe this is just I'm only at the tip of the iceberg in my journey, and I intend to do more films like this each and every week. But yeah, I'm interested. Um, I talk up top about how this film and Indian films really speak to my culture, and something that I thought was really really interesting, really fun. I think was just like how Baahubali, felt like he was being right when he, trying to save, the woman. I forget her name. Um, and he goes against his family, and not his family but specifically his mother. And I know that in Indian culture that is like one of the like worst things that you can do, right? That's like right there. And I love the drama of it. I love the melodrama of it. I love how absolutely real it felt, because again, in my culture, like crossing your mom is a big no. Like, you just don't do it. I feel like that's the way in a lot of cultures, right? But I think that's just up there. um and I love like the time that it took to be that specific and have like the mother giving those eyes and having those looks and being really dramatic, and I think honestly probably right in her response to just be like, if you're disobeying me, if you're not agreeing with me, then I'm going to cut you off entirely. Again, I know that's very specific to Indian culture, but it feels so specific to mine. But I just love how it just took the time to do that instead of it being kind of a 1 second thing. It's like, no, no, this is a huge deal. This is a very big deal. And we spend the rest of that sequence with Bahabuli trying to, um, get his mother's affection, attention, and get her to be around. And she's like, no. Um, and all of that, of course, is like the reason, like, it's part of the downfall. It's part of, like, uh, Balaladeva, like his whole thing, right? His whole plots against Bahubali. Anyways, let's see. Listen, the visual spectacle of this film is extravagant. It's got really really interesting and inspiring cinematography and larger than life production. Again, it feels so different from the first film that I just don't know how to explain, but it has like the majestic like palace sets and breathtaking landscapes. Every frame feels like it's crafted on purpose. If everything feels very purposeful. Of course, this film is record breaking, at least for the time. I mean, more and more movies are taking on a lot of scale that um, I think in part for this from this film, more Indian films are being shown worldwide, and records are continuing to break. And this film is certainly part of that, along with some other recent ones. But um, at the time, it achieved unprecedented success at the box office, domestically and internationally, and it shattered numerous records, becoming the highest-grossing Indian film of all time upon its release, and earning widespread acclaim for its grand scale and storytelling prowess. Now, in terms of performances, the cast delivers something stellar, breathing life and into their respective characters. Prabhas shines as a valiant and virtuous Baahubali, while Reina Dagobati portrays a menacing and complex Balaladeva with conviction. Oh my gosh, his performance is amazing. Anushka Shetty's portrayal of Devasena brings strength and depth to the female lead, while the supporting cast add further depth to the narrative. The movie also raises the bar in terms of action sequences in Indian cinema. The film showcases meticulously choreographed battles, stunning visual effects, and jaw-dropping stunts that keep audiences on the edge of the seats. Now, in terms of the music, like I said, it was composed by M.M. Karavani, who adds this like majestic and emotional dimension to the storytelling. The memorable, the soundtrack is so good. It's so good, uh, and I think that's very rare when it comes to uh, when it comes to any like a lot of movies have soundtracks, but how often are you seeking them out? And I am someone who actually seeks out soundtracks on a whole, and oh gosh, it's been on repeat. Anyways, in terms of booked and busy, let's get down to it. Before this film, S.S. Rajamouli, of course, our director, was known for his grand filmmaking style, had already gotten recognition for his previous works as um, such as Mag- Mag- Magadira and Iga. And since the release of Baahubali 2, he has continued to work on, I don't know, what, RRR? No big deal. Prabhas, who of course is Baahubali, has become a household name with his portrayal of in this film. And before, he's established himself as a lead Telugu actor, and he's been in movies like Chhatrapati and Mirchi. Following this film, he appeared in the action thriller Saho, and is currently actually I believe he's in Andu Parush. Yeah. Uh, Rana Dagabuti, of course, this is Balaladeva. Um, he's been known as an actor in the film Leader, excuse me, and Dum Maro Dum. And after Baahubali, among other things, he's been working in Hindi and Tamil films, and he's appeared in The Ghazi Attack and Houseful 4, and he's even ventured into digital with a web series known as The Family Man and its sequel. Anushka Shetty is an actress known in South Indian cinema, and had already made a mark with Arundhati, and Ru Ru Rudha. I can't pronounce it. I'm so sorry. Um, yeah, she of course is continuing to make films. Uh, yeah, and that's it. In terms of that's it. In terms of facts and trivia, etc., let's talk a few things. Number one, costumes and jewelry. The film's costumes and jewelry were meticulously designed and crafted with an interesting tidbit being that over 2,000 pieces of jewelry were created for the film. These intricate pieces were made with a combination of traditional and modern techniques and achieve a stunning look. Number two, the massive sets that were featured on the film were huge and unprecedented in scale. The famous Kingdom set is in particular spanned over 100 acres and took nearly 2 years to build. The attention to detail and grandeur of the sets added to the immersive experience of the film. Number three, at least at the time, Bahubali 2 holds a Guinness World Record for the largest poster ever. The enormous poster measured at a whopping 47,000, nearly 48,000 square meters, and featured Prabhas and Anushka. This film is well primarily a Telugu film. It gained immense popularity and success worldwide. The film was released in multiple languages: Hindi, Tamil, and Malayalam. I'm so sorry I don't know how to say that properly. Apologies. And of course, this just made it a box office phenomenon, breaking records not just in India, but in several international markets. In terms of the film's groundbreaking visual effects, they were seamlessly integrated into the narrative. It employed advanced CGI techniques to create massive battle sequences and stunning landscapes and mythical creatures. The VFX team behind the film received critical acclaim and exceptional for their exceptional work that pushed boundaries of Indian cinema. And that's all I have. All right. In terms of scene stealers, I'm just gonna. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna mispronounce this. Satya Raj as Katapa, I think stole the show. I think he was really, really great. I think he played a really pivotal part. I know he's not necessarily categorized as a lead of the film, but I think he was a pretty pivotal part of the film and the reason why a lot of the story happens. Um, he has a really great arc in the film. I think he's just such a great actor. I'm not sure where he stands with the rest of his films, but I was really impressed I was really impressed and kind of happy to see him on screen each and every time. Obviously, besides the leads. If I can do one thing, if I can do one thing to make this movie better, hear me out. I'm looking for an SS Rajamouli cinematic universe. All of his films exist in the same one. It all leads up. His next movie is something that leads up to. I'm just actually gonna stop. I'm gonna stop because I think in some twisted world that would actually happen where kind of like how Parasite is this perfect movie. We get and they're making it into a TV show. Someone's gonna convince SS Rajamouli to make one of his movies into something Western and ridiculous, and I'm not gonna like it. So I'll stop my jokes right now. But I do think he's in his span as a director and the movies that he's made, he's really cultivated so many really great actors, and from what I know, really great Indian actors. So I would love to see what he does, like what his like mega mix would be, like who his dream cast would be in a film. I'm interested. Anyways, that's it. I've gone on for nearly 20 minutes. So what do you think about this film? It's been a real joy to finish out this movie. I'm really excited to get on the train of some other Indian cinema franchises. I'm really looking at KGF rather soon. But what else should I be watching? I want to watch movies that are like a real franchise, popcorn film, something that's really hit the culture hard, which I think I have a take on. But I also want to watch some independent films, some films that are a bit lower in scale. So regular movies, as some people would say. I want to watch comedies. I want to watch dramas. I want to watch rom-coms. I want to watch all of it. So please, please, please tell me what I should be watching next, even if it's a TV show. I'll find a way. At least I'll try. And most importantly, yeah, subscribe to this, please. I think it's really important. I know how many people are listening, how many people are watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and share with people that you think would be interested, because I really enjoy the conversations that we have, especially when I release things as big as this. I know that I get a lot of comments and a lot of engagement, so I would love to continue that, because after all, Required Watching is a fan club, and I'm already plotting a trip to India to kind of I don't even know why, to be perfectly honest, but I'm plotting a trip to India specifically for movies, and I hope to make something of that happen soon. But anyways, I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.
I was just told that it's been 5 years since this film actually began.
Okay.
Now, it's very rare for actors to stay this long with any project. You at the most 100 days. If it's a Sanjay Leela Bhansali film, 200 days. But 5 years. How have you stayed passionate about Baahubali and Shivadu for all these years?
Yeah. The most important thing is it's like Rajamouli. I know him for almost like 10 years now, and he's a very big director. That is one very important point. The second point is like this is one of the biggest projects in the country. But still, after 2 years, you feel like you want to do something else. In between, you want to do something else. In between, I had like 6 months gap. But I thought like starting film, and I thought I'll take some rest and immediately start some small film. and finish it again, come back. I think it's not happening, so I better took risk. But the most interesting point is Rajamouli, his sets, his work, his passion made us stay in
That's
this.
what keeps you
Yes,
going.
yes. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done it. Without Rajamouli, no, not possible.